As a promotional tool for a movie not too many people seem to like, Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl is a proper retro throwback to NES beat-em-ups, while still giving enough winks and nods to the View Askew universe for Kevin Smith fans to appreciate. Will it all work together? Let's find out. In another one of those full disclosure situations, this game was gifted to me by the main developer, Thomas of Spoony Bard Productions, the creator of both the Eskimo Bob Flash cartoon and the previously reviewed on IndieStop, Alfonso's Arctic Adventure. Much like Alfonso's Arctic Adventure, Mall Brawl was designed to be an NES game, to run on an NES. Limited Run Games even offers a physical cartridge of this game that you can play on an actual NES. In turn, the Switch version is compatible with the wireless NES controllers. Also, before you ask, yes, this game was designed as a companion piece to the other Jay and Silent Bob beat-em-up game called Chronic Blunt Punch, which is still not released. Just think of it as a bloodstained Curse of the Moon versus Ritual of the Night kind of situation again. While graphically you might think River City Ransom with the big head small body sprites on display, this game's more in line with Double Dragon in its gameplay. Those playing on any system that is not an NES can be treated to a few borders and filters, like smooth pixels, classic CRT bars, and a television frame warping the edges of the screen. NES graphics are what they are, but it's not hard to pick out who is who and what is what in this game. Askewniverse fans will likely instantly recognize bosses and enemies like LaFours from Mallrats, Mooby and the Excremental from Dogma, or Cockknocker from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Animated series fans might also amuse themselves battling against a team consisting of Leonardo and Mr. Plug, or facing off against Patrick Swayze and his horse in the pet store. Even the game's price point of $14.99, aka $15 little man, is an intentional reference. When Askewniverse references aren't being made, their game references abound as well. The opening text crawl gives me a bit of a Streets of Rage intro vibe. The arcade stage has appearances of the developer's own indie titles. There's a giant pretzel-headed Abobo-like character named Adobo. There's a section where you ride a shopping cart in a high-speed turbo tunnel tribute that's just as much of a difficulty spike as the stage it's referencing. Cockknocker is introduced through two metal shutters and floats down in a very obvious reference to Mega Man bosses. Even the final boss takes on a form that looks like some form of dark matter from the Kirby series. Sound effects will fit this just as well as its music, all NES square wave goodness, and even sound effects will have a familiar game reference to them every now and again. Music is composed very well for what it's working with, and there are some generally fantastic and catchy tracks to every stage. As I've said before, the gameplay is far more NES Double Dragon, despite its River City Ransom look. In tune with the NES Double Dragon, the standard button layout assigns punches to A and kicks to B. Pressing A and B together jumps. Pressing either button in midair will have you do an air attack. You can run with double tap forward and do a running attack with any button. When an enemy is stunned, you can press forward and hold A to grab and pummel them. If you're holding a weapon, you can use A to swing it and B to throw it. In single player, you can swap characters by standing still and pressing select. If you're using a more modern controller though, you can press X or Y to perform the jump and air attacks, and R can take the place of select in the character swap. You'll notice fast that Jay and Bob have a slight but obvious difference in playstyle, as Jay favors kicking and Bob favors punching. This is especially noticeable in their air attacks, Jay's jump kick and Bob's elbow drop, and their differing special attacks. You earn these special attacks denoted in a punch-out style star appearing above an enemy head. These stars are earned by knocking down enemies, where you have a 50-50 chance to gain one with each knockdown. You can store up to 3 stars, and each special is activated by attacking 4 times with the correct attack, depending on your character. Kick with Jay 4 times, and you'll get a forward-flipping flash kick that travels through enemies. Punch 4 times with Bob, and you'll do a spinning lariat that draws in and holds enemies in place. These attacks have to connect 4 times in a row to activate, so if you swap to a different attack, miss an attack, or take a hit, it won't work. Knowing just how to take out each enemy is going to be pretty important for survival because this game is brutal. It very much embraces the Nintendo hard design philosophy of unforgiving enemies and stages. As you're learning attack patterns and the best way to take out each enemy, you'll likely end up in some cheap enemy beatdowns and more than unfair feeling encounters. Notable frustrations are Mubi's instant super armor damage that you'll take if he goes into a horn charge, the quick recovery of the skateboarders if you don't retrieve the skateboard after you knock them off of it, or any enemy with a ranged attack taking pot shots while you're dealing with his buddy. Health restores are few and far between and oftentimes very random in what you'll get, so I guess telling you that there are no mid-stage checkpoints might have you sweating. Squeak past all the enemies with just a sliver of health on both characters, then lose to the boss that you haven't sorted out how to defeat, or that Nightmare Turbo Tunnel gauntlet, and you'll have to do the entire stage all over again. Better yet, if you lose to the final boss at any point of the phase, you have to complete the previous stage, the boss rush stage, every time to get another chance at the final boss. If there is any solace for you, single-player games will let you swap between the characters, giving the other time to rest up to half health at max. If Jay or Bob are defeated, the other can pick up the slack and keep the fight going, but you can't swap back unless the other is revived by reaching half health or a blue bar. Basically, swap if you're 1 or 2 HP from defeat, as it's better than letting the other character lose outright. The resting character's health also restores over time, provided that there's an active battle going on. It's also of note that bosses in the game, for the most part, have some semblance of mechanics that'll make them far easier than the hordes of enemies you just dealt with. LaForce and Swayze can be taken down fairly easily once you understand the basic combat tactics, but when you reach Excremental, who can only be damaged with a weapon, what you need to do to defeat nearly every boss afterward becomes a lot clearer and easier to survive. Except for Shadow Jay and Bob. Once you manage to best your doppelgangers and get your Scooby-Doo reveal of what's going on, you'll get the credits and another surprise in reference to Zelda and Ghouls and Ghosts, a second quest hard mode. Yeah, this wasn't hard enough apparently. Hard mode adds beefier enemies to stages, later enemies will appear earlier, and you'll face off against more of them in groups. In addition, the swap mechanic doesn't restore health anymore, and other health restores are even less plentiful. Good luck with that, I'm out. Though, if you're a real masochistic hardcore tryhard, Steam has an achievement requiring you to finish the hard mode in one sitting, with no saves, and not a single death. The reason this achievement was included, and I'm directly quoting the developer here, is because I'm an asshole. This, like Curse of the Moon, is another shining example where the companion piece is given just as much attention and design care as the project it's supposed to be promoting. Technically an NES game, it still feels like more of a modern retro throwback title, giving us the classic feel of Double Dragon on the NES, with more modern polish that can give you plenty of entertainment in figuring out how to survive it, with no hand-holding whatsoever. While I managed to finally finish the game in single player, I would love to try out co-op sometime and see how well I fare. Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl, once I warmed up to it, definitely gets the go recommendation from me. You don't have to like or even appreciate Kevin Smith's filmography to get any kind of enjoyment out of it, but those who do true view askew should easily appreciate the multitudes of references, and fun little side story to bridge Mallrats and Clerks. Catchy music and an honest challenge cap off a fun game with a decent amount of replayability, so go ahead and check it out if you think it'd appeal to you, or if you have an old Double Dragon buddy that you haven't called up in a while.